No one thought China could beat Germany, Japan, or the United States. Japan led the race with its reliable and fuel-efficient brands like, yes, you guessed it, hence the famous saying, "The car in front of you is a Toyota." General Motors in the United States held the largest global sales record for 77 years in a row. German brands were the spiritual home for performance and luxury. At that time, China was staring at a crisis, having 36% of its 1.3 billion people living in urban areas. 456 million people, relying on combustion vehicles, were choking its cities. Pollution levels rose until cities themselves began to disappear. In Beijing, a yellowish-gray mixture of smoke, soot, and moisture hung so thick in the air that visibility dropped to 200 meters. Blue sky became rare. Hundreds of flights were grounded. Residents described breathing as risking your life, and masks stopped being temporary protection. They became a daily fashion. Beijing earned a nickname, the smog capital. A cleaner source of energy would not only be an economic opportunity, but it would solve a looming public health crisis. And then, a man who understood both Germany's engineering culture and China's ambition stepped in. He had worked for Audi in Germany for over a decade. His name was Wan Gang. Wan Gang was convinced that the only way to win was to change the game. By shifting focus entirely to new energy vehicles, China would leapfrog the era of gas-powered vehicles. However, back then, electric cars were viewed as glorified carts, and consumers viewed them as inferior to brands like Audi, seeing them as a symbol of low status. As the Western automakers were perfecting their engines, China was planning to abandon them entirely. The country was pouring billions of dollars into subsidies and incentives in the electric vehicle industry. Subsidies were paid based on sales volume to encourage manufacturers to produce more cars. However, the journey did not go as smoothly as you would expect, as manufacturers started to exploit loopholes in the policy. Manufacturers sold vehicles to their own shell companies to claim subsidies without ever reaching the real consumer. Some firms equipped the test vehicle with large batteries and swapped them during production. In 2016 alone, dozens of companies fraudulently claimed $1.3 billion in subsidies. A massive policy shift was made to respond to fraud and low-quality products. All subsidized vehicles were equipped with real-time onboard monitoring systems to verify they were actually being driven. To kill off low-quality golf cart-style EVs, the minimum driving range was increased from 80 kilometers to 150 kilometers, and later to 250 kilometers. Annual production surged. By 2023, the record-breaking phase had begun. A country that had always been playing catch-up was now rewriting history as the world's leading producer and exporter of electric vehicles. Even Japan, long considered untouchable, could not match the pace, and China became the world's largest exporter. Countries rushed to impose tariffs, citing well-known issues related to Chinese industrial policies that cause overcapacity and unfair competition. In May 2024, the United States announced 100% tariffs, effectively blocking them from its markets. Canada would later match up the United States by imposing its own tariffs. The Chinese government dismissed the tariffs as blunt discrimination and protectionism to contain China's development. Chinese brands grew aggressively, with annual production hitting 1 million units a year. New energy vehicles outsold the combustion cars. BYD overtook the EV giant's Tesla and became the largest global seller. The country did not just build cars, it controlled the material to build them. The battery is the heart of an electric vehicle, dictating its performance, cost, and environmental footprint. The battery pack alone accounts for 30 to 40% of the total manufacturing cost of an electric vehicle. That cost shrinks dramatically when 4 of the world's top 5 battery companies operate within your borders. That allowed for technological foundation and cost advantages that enabled Chinese automakers to leapfrog the Western competitors. China has moved from merely having a seat at the table to holding the gavel.